This episode is brought to you by Red Wolf, the online pop culture fashion store with clothing, accessories, and lifestyle products for all geeks. Hi, my name is Kishore, and this is Moving Images. Adapting comic book stories for the big screen has been the rage for nearly more than a decade now. Yet, this isn't something new. The first comic book superhero to get their own film adaptation was
Shazam!
or Captain Marvel as he was known back then, in the 1941 Adventures of Captain Marvel. With the unprecedented success of the MCU, it seems the world has finally woken up to realize the treasure trove that comics are when it comes to their highly entertaining yet deep stories. These days, it is commonplace to see great comic storylines being adapted as animated or live-action movies. And yet, the entire superhero cinematic universe world has been sleeping on a fully fleshed out superhero universe with colorful characters and, more importantly, with amazing stories. I am talking about Astro City. Published originally by Image Comics, Astro City is an anthology comic series that revolves around the various superheroes, supervillains, and even the citizens of the titular Astro City. The series does not have separate titles for each of its heroes, but is rather unique in that each story within an issue will deal with a different character who lives in the titular city. The stories are also not chronological in nature, instead giving the reader snippets of the world these characters live in, making Astro City an interesting reading experience for the readers. So today, let me introduce you to the world of Astro City with some of my favorite stories. And what better way to start than with the first issue? The issue features the Samaritan, who on the surface might seem like a Superman surrogate, but he is more than that. The story begins with the Samaritan flying. He enjoys flying through the clouds, free of care, as we see how happy flying makes him. This turns out to be a dream from which he is woken up by his beeper, alerting him of an ongoing crisis. He suits up and goes out to save the day. We get to see the various other heroes operating in Astro City and the type of threats the city faces, all through the eyes of the Samaritan. Throughout the issue, we see the Samaritan performing various heroic deeds and saving lives, all the while lamenting how he never has time for anything else. He even hardly has the time to save everyone. In this one instance, the Samaritan stops for 2 seconds after he saves a girl's cat so that she could see him and not just a blur that would instead scare her. However, since he spent those 2 seconds, a man nearly gets crushed by a building across the town. The Samaritan beats himself up for doing this and resolves to be more careful next time. He also keeps counting the seconds throughout the story that have a reveal at the end. Although the Samaritan is shown to have no time for himself because of his superhero duties, he is not shown to be jaded or bitter towards being a superhero. This is my favorite aspect of Astro City though, is that it is a reconstruction of the superhero genre rather than a deconstruction. With plenty of grim and dark deconstruction out there, it is refreshing to see a reconstruction, a good build-up of the heroes. This is why the Samaritan is a hero, since he takes his mission and duty seriously, even at the cost of his own social life. At the end of a tiring day, it is finally revealed that the Samaritan was counting the seconds he flew that day. 56 seconds. This has been the longest he has flown in a while, and he is happy he flew so long before going back to sleep and dreaming about flying through the clouds again. Before we look at the next story, give me a few seconds to talk about today's sponsor, Red Wolf. Red Wolf is the one-stop online store to satisfy all your pop culture needs. They have t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, badges, and more from various comic books, cartoons, and anime. I still love the Spider-Man hoodie from their store. Are you a big Thor fan? Well, Red Wolf can help you celebrate the God of Thunder even more with their awesome collection of all new Thor merchandise. Head on over to Red Wolf's online store and use the coupon code IMAGES10 for a 10% discount on your purchase. Links to the store are in the description below. Now, back to more Astro City. Our next story from Astro City is about a villain, Junkman. We have seen how inspiring a hero story can be, but even the villains get to shine here. Junkman, a brilliant supervillain who builds his tools for crime from junk, manages to pull off the perfect crime. So perfect that no one even suspects him. He uses his technology to commit a robbery and slips away before his longtime nemesis Jack in the Box was even the wiser about what was going on. With more money than he could dream of, he travels the world and indulges in luxuries. We also see his backstory as an engineer who worked for most of his life at the same engineering firm. When his termination came, it did so unexpectedly, and he did not take it gracefully. With no one else willing to take a 60-year-old as a new employee, he turns to a life of crime. In the present, we see in spite of pulling off a heist of his lifetime, Junkman is still unhappy at how the deeds of the superheroes are celebrated, while no one is aware of how he managed to outwit them all. No matter where he went, he couldn't escape the idolization of young superheroes doing very important things, while no one even knew about his work. He loses his enjoyment in the travels and sensual indulgence. He stops being happy with the money he is sitting on. In his words, each travel destination starts to feel like a hiding place or disguise, rather than a well-earned retirement. He sees the young heroes being celebrated, and it feels like they are winning and he's losing. What's the point in getting away with it if nobody knows? He didn't want to beat them, or at least not just. He wanted to show them. Not long after, Junkman flies to the United States and robs a bank in Detroit. This time his execution is less flawless and an alarm gets triggered. It's implied, though not made explicit, that he did this on purpose. When a hero, local Detroit big shot MPH, a speedster type, arrives on scene, Junkman has a gadget on hand specifically designed to disable him. He manages to escape barely, but he's still happy since he made it known to a hero that he was better than him. He keeps committing similar crimes, and soon the media connects him to the previous unsolved crime at the beginning of the story. However, Junkman is still frustrated that the news is still devoting far too much attention to the heroes trying to stop him than it is to Junkman himself. He finally tries to rob the same place he robbed before, and this time the hero Jack in the Box is waiting for him. After a quick tussle, Junkman is caught. He is produced in the court, and the prosecutor has an easy case and enough evidence to explain not only how Junkman did all his crimes, but also speculate as to why, in a presentation that puts all the emphasis on him and how crafty he is, and lavishes attention on his personal details. Junkman sits waiting for the defense to rest before he activates the device he installed in the courthouse before his arrest. The story shows that while supervillains could get rich from their creations, or even by being more clever with their crimes, that's not why they do it. It's mostly the result of a desperate need for validation. Everyone has to know how clever and powerful the villain committing the crime is. They would rather lose outright than get away with no one knowing who did it. There are more such brilliant stories in Astro City, like the one where the Samaritan meets his nemesis, Infidel, only to sit for lunch and nothing more. Or the one where two superheroes try to go on a date. I could talk all day about Astro City, but I hope these two stories have whetted your appetite enough to indulge in more Astro City goodness. Astro City transcends most categories that you try to place it in, except the excellent literature category.
Thanks to Red Wolf for sponsoring this video. You guys can support the channel and help me thank Red Wolf by using the link and the coupon code IMAGES10 to fulfill all your pop culture merchandise needs. See ya!